This is section 11.2. We're going to be talking about areas today. So the first thing we'll talk about is area of a circle, and that formula is pi times r squared. When you're doing this, we have to square the r before we multiply by pi, and if it asks for an exact answer, that means we leave the pi in it. We would just do the r squared and attach pi to our answer. So find the exact area of a circle with a radius of 19.7 inches. So when we do our a equals pi r squared, that's going to be pi times the radius, 19.7 squared. So we're only squaring the 19.7. We get 388.09, and then we attach the pi to it. So 388.09 pi, and if it's inches, my area will now be square units. That's going to be square inches. So here's one for you to try. You can pause. Answers are posted in the blank notes. For example 2, we are given the diameter, we are finding the diameter of a circle whose area is 122.72. So we only have an area formula with radius, so we're going to have to use that. So we're going to say a equals pi r squared, so that the 122.72 is our a. We know we have to get the squared part alone before we could take the square root, so we're going to divide both sides by pi. We should be using our pi button for this. And we'll keep that whole answer in the calculator. So there's a lot of decimals. I'm just going to write 0.06 right now. But I'm going to keep this whole thing in my calculator, and I'm going to take the square root of the answer in my calculator. So when I do that, I get about 6.25. And we know that the radius times 2 is the diameter. So if we double our answer, we get a diameter of 12.5. Right? 6.25 times 2. And if this was in inches squared, the diameter is in just inches because that's a length. Here's one for you to try. You can pause. The answers are posted in the blank notes. So population density is a measure of how many people live within a given area. So the density will be the number of people divided by the area of that region. A lot of times they'll just give us a radius, and we'll have to complete the area to do the density. So for example 3a, we're told about 430,000 people live in a 5-mile radius of a city's town hall. Find the population density in people per square mile. So the density will be equal to the people, so that's 430,000, divided by the area, which would be pi r squared, or pi times 5 squared. We do have to be careful when we plug this into a calculator, because you have to be smarter than the device you're using. If you just typed in 430,000 divided by pi times 5 squared, it's not going to give you the right answer, because we need to divide by the entirety of pi times 5 squared. So we would need to put parentheses around that. Or you can find what pi times 5 squared is, get that as a decimal, and divide by that answer. That's probably the way I'm going to go about doing it. So in my calculator, I'm doing pi times 5 squared first, and I got about 78.5, and I'm going to do 430,000 divided by the answer in my calculator, and I get about 5474.9. We can leave this as a decimal, or we can round it. I believe for these, we're just going to leave them as a decimal rounded to the 10th, and we're going to say that's people per square mile. If it was just the amount of people, I would probably round that to a whole number. But for the population density, because we're just generating this value, we can round to the 10th. That's okay. Example 3b, a region with a 3-mile radius has a population density of about 6,195 people per square mile. Find the number of people who live in the region. So we're now given the density. So we're given 6,195 equals, we don't know the people, so that's going to be a variable over the area. And thankfully, this one's a little easier to solve, because when we multiply both sides, multiplication can happen in any order. So we could just do 6,195 times the pi times 3 squared. And this one we will round to a whole number. So I get 175,159.49. So that means I'm going to round it down. If you round it up, I would accept that as well. So I'm going to say 175,159 people. You could have also said 175,160 people. Both would have been acceptable. So here's 2 for you to try. You can pause. The answers are posted in the blank notes. Just like we did the arc length, we're going to do area of a sector. So a sector is a portion of the circle bounded by 2 radii and an arc. So it's basically a slice of a circle. And it's going to follow the same format as the arc length did. It's going to be degrees over 360 equals that portion of the circle over the whole circle. So the area of just the sector over the area of the whole circle. So for example 4, we want to find the area of the shaded sector. So the shaded sector has a measure of 135 degrees. They could have either given us the angle here or the actual arc measure, which they did. So we're going to do 135 over 360 equals, we don't know the area of the shaded sector, so that's my variable, over the area of the circle. I'm given the radius is 6, so we'll use pi times 6 squared. When I cross multiply, I'm going to get 360x equals, and for right now, I'm going to focus on an exact answer because our final will be asking us for exact answers. So doing 6 squared times 135 is 4860, and we have the pi attached. So for an exact answer, I'm going to leave the pi there. I'm going to divide both sides by 360. And I get 27 halves. So this would be my exact answer. So we will have to know how to do that for our final. But beyond that, if you were just giving an approximate answer, we could have done 4860 times pi. So I'm going to do the rest of the work down here. So that would have been 360x equals 15268.14. Dividing by 360 gave me 42.41. So this would be an approximate answer. I'm fine normally with approximate answers, but again, the final will require you to give it as exact. Example 5, same idea, shaded sector. Notice the unshaded part is 65. So the rest of it would be 360 minus 65, or 295. So for my degrees over 360, that's going to be 295 over 360. Equals, we don't know the area, so that's my variable, over the area of the circle, pi r squared, pi times 11 squared. I'm no longer going to worry about exact answers, so we're just going to get our decimals here. So cross multiplying, I have 360x equals, very big number, 112,139.15. And dividing that by 360, we get 311.4976, so 311.5 inches squared. Just going to go back and check on that. I forgot to put squared on these. I want to make sure that those are correct. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, so example 5, inches squared for our area. So here's 2 for you to try. You can pause. Answers are posted on the blank notes. So for example 6, the A next to this is just the sector's area. So what we're looking for is the area of the whole circle. So my degrees are 40 over 360 equals, so now 35 is going to go up here as the area of the sector. And I'm not going to put pi r squared down here because that would make me think I'm solving for r. I want the entire area. So I'm just going to put A for area here. So when I'm done, I'm done. So when I cross multiply, we're going to get 40A equals 12,600. And dividing that by 40 gives me an area of 315 square meters. Okay, so here's one for you to try. You can pause. Answers are posted on the blank notes. And in the last ones, we're going to look at finding the area of a shaded region within combined shapes. So the shaded part is everything that was inside our rectangle, but taking away the parts that weren't shaded, which were the two circles. So sometimes for a shaded region, or a lot of times for a shaded region, we're going to have to find one big shape and then take away the parts that weren't filled in. So we're going to be finding a rectangle, and we're going to take away two circles. So my rectangle, that's what we're going to work on first. They don't have any dimensions on our rectangle, but we do know the radius of each circle is 15, meaning all the way across is 30. So this side of this rectangle is 30. And this is two circles long, so that would be 30 and 30, or 60. So for my rectangle, my area is length times width. So that's going to be 30 times 60, or 1800. Each circle, right, we know our area is pi r squared. So we're going to do pi times 15 squared, or 225 pi. I'm going to leave it in terms of pi for a second because I know I want two of them. So I'm going to double that first to get 450 pi, and now I'll take the decimal. So that's going to be 1413.72. So if we're going to do rectangle minus the two circles, that's going to be the 1800 minus the 1413.72. So my shaded region is 386.28 square inches. So here's the final one for you to try. You can pause or end the video. The answer is posted in the blank notes. And that is section 11.2.